They say a little girl haunts this house, but records show she may have never existed. If Sally wasn't real, then something else was inside those walls. This is the chilling mystery of the Sally House. Welcome back to Into the Depths of Mystery. Today's story takes us to a quiet residential street in Atchison, Kansas, where an ordinary-looking house became the center of one of the most controversial paranormal cases in American history. So turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let's take a deep dive into the mystery of the Sally House. In December of 1992, Tony Pickman and his pregnant wife, Deborah, moved into a modest 3-bedroom rental home on North 2nd Street in Atchison, Kansas. The couple was expecting their first child, a baby boy, and the house seemed like the perfect place to start their new life. At first, everything felt normal. They unpacked, they settled in, and for weeks, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But that calm didn't last. One night, after watching television in the living room, Tony turned off the TV and the lights before following Deborah upstairs to bed. Halfway up the staircase, he paused. A faint glow filled the living room below. Tony turned around and froze. The television was back on. Unsettled, he went downstairs and turned it off again, brushing it off as a strange electrical issue. But that was only the beginning. At first, the disturbances were subtle. Lights flickered. Objects seemed slightly out of place. But after their son, Taylor, was born, the activity intensified and became far more deliberate. In 1993, Deborah's sister, Karen, came to visit. One evening, while Deborah, Karen, and the baby were relaxing in the living room, Tony went upstairs to check the nursery. The light was on. Inside, several stuffed animals had been removed from the shelf and carefully arranged in a perfect circle on the floor. When Tony showed Deborah and Karen, both denied touching the toys. They put them back. Minutes later, Deborah returned to the nursery. The toys were back on the floor, again arranged in a circle. From that moment on, the activity turned violent. Objects were thrown across rooms. Framed pictures were repeatedly found, turned upside down. On one occasion, a toy in the nursery burst into flames without any clear source of ignition. During a visit from a friend who attempted to provoke the spirit while taking photos, a stuffed animal in the living room began spinning on its own, and then the attacks began. Unexplained cuts and welts started appearing on Tony Pickman's arms and back. Some were shallow, others were deep enough to bleed. Deborah claimed she watched new scratches form on Tony's skin while he slept. They contacted psychic investigator Barbara Connors, who concluded the house was haunted by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Sally. According to Connors, Sally was overprotective of the baby and meant no harm. She encouraged Deborah to speak to the spirit, to welcome her. Tony wasn't convinced. He believed whatever was in the house was pretending to be a child. Not long after the psychic visit, Tony had a terrifying encounter. Early one morning, while pouring a glass of orange juice in the kitchen, he closed the refrigerator door and came face to face with the apparition of a young girl standing near the basement door. She vanished instantly. The glass shattered on the floor. Tony began having haunting, vivid dreams and started sketching the girl who appeared in them. A child of about 7 years old, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, with a small bow neatly tied in her hair. This sketch would later become one of the most chilling pieces of the case. The haunting soon caught the attention of the paranormal television show Sightings, which conducted multiple investigations. In 1993, they brought in renowned psychic medium Peter James. According to the show, James arrived unaware of the details, but before entering the house, he claimed to see a young girl standing in an upstairs window. Inside, he sensed two entities, a young girl named Sally and an older woman. James claimed Sally died of pneumonia and confirmed the house was once occupied by a doctor. During filming, unexplained sounds were captured, and Tony was attacked 11 separate times. Bloody scratches appeared on his body, sometimes forming on camera while investigators watched. Even after the Pickmans moved out in 1994, Tony returned for interviews, and the scratches returned almost immediately. Investigators concluded that at least 2 entities remained in the house, but history raised troubling questions. The house was built in 1867 by Michael Finney, often referred to by his initials, MC. He died in the home in 1872, and his funeral was held in the living room. Years later, Tony Pickman was scratched with markings resembling those same initials. Michael's son, Charles Finney, inherited the home and became a doctor in 1894. He lived upstairs with his family and may have run a medical practice on the first floor. This is where the legend of Sally becomes darker. One version claims a 7-year-old girl named Sally died during a failed appendectomy performed in the house without anesthesia. But there is no historical record proving this. Charles Finney later became mayor of Atchison in 1913, something skeptics argue would be unlikely if such a tragedy were publicly known. Despite claims made on sightings, no birth or death records confirm a child named Sally dying in the home. The only documented Sally lived there in 1948. Sarah Mize, who went by Sally, she is still alive. Another theory points to Sally Isabel Hall, an African-American woman who lived nearby and died in 1905. She gave birth to 14 children, only 4 surviving. Some speculate births occurred in the Finney house, but no records connect her to the home. And yet, other residents had experiences too. In 1990, the Humbert family lived in the house for less than a year. Their daughter, Heather, spoke often of an imaginary friend named Sally. Years later, Heather identified Tony's sketch as her imaginary friend. Another former resident, Kelly Elias, reported finding a small fire burning beneath a nursery window, extinguished just in time. No cause was ever found. In the early 2000s, rumors took an even darker turn. After evicting a tenant, owner Les Smith discovered a large pentagram drawn on the basement floor, along with occult symbols on the stone walls. In an interview with Astonishing Legends, Smith stated the symbols were carefully drawn, suggesting someone knew exactly what they were doing. The pentagram was later painted over, but some investigators believe the rituals may have opened the door to something far more dangerous. The basement is now off limits. During earlier investigations, witnesses reported chairs flying, scratches drawing blood, disturbing EVPs, and even someone being pushed down the stairs. In 2011, investigator Tim Wood of Live Sci-Fi TV made a chilling discovery in the attic: an old sweater buried under insulation, stained with what appeared to be blood. The garment had puncture holes in areas where the stains were most concentrated. Luminol testing reportedly confirmed the stains were blood. Additional tests in the master bedroom closet below, one of the house's most active hotspots, also revealed traces of blood. Whether law enforcement ever investigated further remains unclear. Today, people from around the world travel to spend the night in the Sallie house. Some experience nothing. Others report TVs turning on and off, doors opening, the sound of a child running upstairs, and toys moving on their own. Some investigators believe the house is dangerous, and that Sallie is not a child at all, but something darker, using innocence as a mask. Others believe fear, suggestion, and media attention created a legend. So what do you believe? Was Sallie a lost child, a restless spirit, or something far more sinister? And if Sallie never existed, then who was responsible for the violence inside that house? The Sallie house still stands today. It looks quiet, normal, and harmless, but many believe whatever was inside never left, and it may still be watching. Do you believe the Sallie house is truly haunted? Would you ever spend a night inside its walls? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's most chilling haunted homes, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Into the Depths of Mystery, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story.